Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriette Cole. So very happy to be with you today. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend and are raring to go on this beginning of the weekday. How are you feeling? When you check in and tell yourself for sure, how are you feeling? What answer do you come up with? And I ask this because I've heard this from many people who are not American. American people ask, how are you? How are you doing? And the expectation is that you say, fine, great, I'm okay, no matter what's going on. That the expected answer is some version of okay. And in part because that's a greeting, and the idea also is, you're not really trying to have a detailed conversation with someone about your state of mind, your state of being. So I do understand that as a nicety, you just say, I'm fine, I'm okay, everything's great, and keep it moving. As a nicety, that's okay, because it isn't appropriate to tell people everything about what's going on with you. But as a practice, I actually think it's better to choose something to say that resonates as truth, not just simply something cursory. That doesn't mean that in the average moving about in your day, that you unload some deep reality about yourself to anybody. What I think is better is that you choose, what do you want to put forth today? What is it that you want to share that will help propel you and others forward in your day? What could be something that is a response to how are you, that is motivator, that's a kind of the best stirring of the pot? And I want you to think about that, because everything that we say has power. It can be power to help us. It can be power to erode whatever the situation might be. It's the power to be inclusive, to be exclusive. Everything we say resonates with some power that can move us in a direction. And I think it's important, if we know that we choose to think, think and say things that will allow us to do something that is beneficial to us and to others. In the context of that, we are now at the end of the first month of the year. For everybody who's with me live, we know that for sure. Whenever you're watching this, know that this moment is a beginning moment. We're still at the beginning. And at the beginning, but not the first day, not the second day. And I'm going to say at the beginning of anything, the beginning of your decision to manifest something for your life, for yourself. At the beginning, think about something. I want you to set this context for yourself. What are you at the beginning of right now? Yes, there's the beginning of the year, that sort of time that is connected to other people. Are you also at the beginning of a project for work, a project for home? Are you at the beginning of a recommitment to something that you pledged to yourself? We talked about committing to something last week. Commit to something. Do you remember that? That was so strong that if you just make the decision to commit to something, I suggested 3 things. That's what I've done for myself. The very beginning of the year, I wrote down 3 things that I was committed to doing. Last week, I told you I haven't done all 3 things every day because this mine is a daily commitment. And now, a week later, I have been more disciplined because I reminded myself last week, wait a minute, Harriet, you said you were going to do these things for yourself. You promised yourself. How well are you doing? I did that gut check, the reality check, the check off the list, which, as you all know, I believe in lists and I believe in checking them off. And today, this week, I'm using a whiteboard. So I check off what I said I was going to do, I erase it. And then what's left, I still have to do those things and I may add to it. That's what I'm doing right now. What are you doing? What's on your list? I want to encourage all of us to do what Narith is saying. It's manifestation season. Yes, it is. What are you manifesting? What did you commit to doing last week? What are you committing to doing right now? Tell yourself what that is. Write it down if you can. You can share it here with us or just write it down for yourself. And if I see someone says they're tired, it's okay to be tired. But guess what? Even when you're tired, that doesn't mean you should give up. That doesn't mean that you should stop doing whatever it is you've committed to doing. It means you have to re energize because time slips by so quickly. And then we go, how do we get to this week? How do we get to this month, this time, this place and time? And what have we accomplished along the way? If we are not conscious and intentional, we're going to get to that marker and be sad, mad, frustrated, incredulous. Because if we haven't worked on it, chances are we're not going to accomplish it. That doesn't mean we're bad people. It means that we haven't been focused and committed and it means that we haven't taken the time day after day to reinforce whatever it is we said we were going to do. And so, why am I bringing this up? Because I'm telling you, you feel so good when you do commit to what you said you were going to do for yourself. When you can cross it off and say, I did what I promised myself every day this week, every day this month. Oh, I missed a day, but I got back on and I kept doing it. When you commit and do it, whatever it is, every day, at the end of a week, at the end of a month, at the end of a quarter, you will see success. I promise you. If you don't commit, if you stumble so much that you just say, oh, I'm done, I'm not going to do it anymore because I haven't been disciplined enough, then I'm sorry to say, but you're going to feel bad. You will feel bad in the moment that the moment you realize, not necessarily the moment you stop working on it, but the moment you realize that you have dropped your commitment. And by the way, that moment could be that day, next week, next year. We aren't always conscious of our actions. So whenever the moment comes, when you've realized that the commitment has slipped away, you have disengaged from the commitment, you're not going to feel good about yourself. And you may do what many of us do, make excuses. Well, I had all of these things that I said I was going to do for myself, but then all these other things came up. I had so many responsibilities. I had my family, I had my job, I had my bills, I had My aging mom, my growing children, my crotchety spouse, best friend, partner, whatever. What is the list of excuses? That is your list. That pops up when you recognize that you did not do what you promised you were going to do. Think about it. We all have a list. And honestly, I hate those lists because, of course, we have responsibilities. Of course, we have many things that we need to do in the course of a day, a week, an hour, a year. But we do not have to let those things stand in the way of us staying focused on the things that we have told ourselves are important to us and pushing forward. That's what you have to remember. No matter what is on your list, if you value the commitments that you have made to yourself and to others, but it really starts with the commitments you've made to yourself, then you will figure out how to do them. You will not let them fester and die on the side of the road. So this is talking about our focus for today, which is never give up. Never give up. Do you ever tell yourself that? Never give up. Okay, it's hard. I'm tired. I've got all these things that I said I was going to do. I can't do them all. I've just loaded up my plate. It's too much. Or I don't have enough energy. I don't feel good enough to push forward in the way that I need to. Or I'm done. I don't feel like doing that anymore. When you think about giving up on commitments, like I said before, it doesn't feel good. The thoughts aren't good. How you value yourself changes because you you look at yourself and say, "What's wrong with me? Why couldn't I do better on whatever that thing was? Why was I not able to accomplish whatever this thing is that I promised that I would do for myself? What's wrong with me?" These are the questions we often ask ourselves when we work on, when we say, when we commit to doing something and then we drop off. Why? What's wrong with me? Why couldn't I accomplish this? Is there something wrong with me? Am I such a failure that I can't complete whatever this task is that I gave myself? And then there are also the questions: did I make the task too big? Did I, because I talk a lot about breaking down, you have your dream, you have your big goals, and then breaking the goal down, the dream down into manageable tasks so that if they're manageable, if they're not too big, it makes it easier for you to be successful. So one thing you may want to do when you feel that you can't do whatever it is you've promised yourself, one thing you may want to do is break the task down into something that is smaller, into a smaller increment that you can accomplish more quickly because that gives you energy to move forward to the next thing. So rather than giving up, realign yourself with whatever the commitment is that you've made. Does that make sense to you? It's not giving up. It could be like I just said, realigning yourself, breaking the tasks down into smaller tasks. It could be in your evaluation of whatever it is that you've promised to do. You may find that there's a task you put on the list that isn't effective, or that you may not be able to do right now, but maybe instead of that task, there's something else that you can do that keeps you headed toward your goal. You may also find that as you evaluate, if you're consciously paying attention to what you've committed to do, you may find that you've gotten to the point with a line of activity and you need to pivot and go another way. That is not always the same as giving up. That evaluation, okay, This has worked up to this point. Now I need to refresh and do this a little differently or choose something that might better align me with the bigger goal. I don't consider that to be giving up. That's evaluation, assessment, tweaking, and adjusting so that you remain on your journey. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So, the quote that I want us to look at for today is from Thomas Edison. And he said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time." Okay, let me say that again. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Okay, that's spoken from a scientist who is one of the great scientists of modern history. And scientists will tell you, people who work in the science space will tell you, they do a gazillion experiments to come to a conclusion, to try to figure out something that their brains have told them and their researchers told them this is possible. And they try again and again and again and again, years in, to come to an understanding of whatever it is they are seeking to learn. The work pays off sometimes in the sense of not every scientist makes, a world changing discovery. Most don't. But because of putting forth the effort, there are tiny victories along the way. They're the victories of, wow, I I stuck to it and I learned something. Sometimes I stuck to it and I learned something totally different. You may be aware of this, but I believe this is an example. The medicine Viagra for erectile dysfunction, I'm pretty sure that that medicine also helps with migraine headaches. I don't know because I haven't studied the research enough, but they figured this out. There, and that's just one. So there are two different things that one drug will do that are life changing for people. There are many scientific discoveries that the goal was to learn one thing, to solve one problem, and in the end, some other significant challenge was addressed and solved because of research. So, why do I mention that? This notion of not giving up. You don't always get exactly what it is that you think you are trying to accomplish when you keep at it. Sometimes you will stumble upon a truth, a, a light will go off, and you're like, wow, this is really helpful for my life. This is helpful for my job, for my family, for my community. I discovered something while on my journey towards something else because I didn't give up. I unwrapped a gift, a true surprise gift for my life and someone else because I didn't give up. That is the most fulfilling experience when that occurs. Oh, if I do this, this can happen. And it can be beneficial to me and potentially beneficial to others. Or sometimes it's simply in your process, you discover something that's beneficial to others and maybe it's neutral for you. Or even sometimes it may not be the very best thing for you, but the reason that you should share it is because it's good for the world. It's good for someone in your sphere who needs to know whatever it is that you've discovered. By not giving up, I have experienced that there's so much fruit that you can yield for yourself, your community, your world by continuing to go for it. So among those things, you develop discipline, the discipline of continuing to make an effort even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is interesting. I learned from my meditation practice, which I've been doing for more than 30 years, that if you have the discipline of going inside, being still, listening to the voice inside, connecting to the divinity within you that connects you to that divinity that has created our world. When you do that as a discipline, those times when you need the protection, when you need the connection, you need to be connected to God, and you need that embrace because you're feeling alone, you're feeling vulnerable. In those times, if you have cultivated the discipline of prayer and meditation and silencing your mind so that you can commune with the divine, it's going to come. It's happened for me so many times when I have felt anxious, I have felt worried, I have felt like something's not going right. I don't know what's going to happen, but right now it doesn't feel good. In those moments, in some of the most extreme moments, when I stop and take a breath, and really work to sit still, I can slip into that sacred space quickly. And it feels like a hug. It's an enveloping space. It's a space where I can trust that I can be still and listen for messages for realignment, for encouragement, for that boost that I need to remember that everything is going to be okay. Doesn't mean it will be easy. Nobody promised that. But it will be okay if you stay focused and you stay committed and you stay in alignment with your discipline. So that's the discipline of spiritual practice. The same goes for the discipline of working toward your goal. And so as we think about this, never give up. Let me tell you again what Thomas Edison said. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. So he said our greatest weakness. People give up all the time. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Let me repeat this. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Think about yourself. Think about the moment in time where we are in this year. What have you given up on already that you promised you were going to do? What have you shrugged your shoulders and said, okay, well, that's not working, so I guess it's not important? What's on your list that you promised yourself that perhaps should go back on the list? Anything? Have you noticed that ever since you gave up on whatever might be on that list, that the outcomes that you hope for aren't there? You're not so proud of some of the things that are occurring in your life right now that have to do with you giving up on something. If you tell yourself the truth, answer that question. Have you given up on something that makes you feel not so great about yourself? Because you know it would be better for you to do it. And if that's the case, don't beat yourself up. Just start doing it again. Put it back on your list. You may also find you need to amend your list. Maybe you cannot do everything that's on the list. This is what happens when we make the list of 20, 30, 40 things. And I am guilty of that. In my work list, my to-do for the day, for the week, really the day, usually there are at least 20 things on the list. They are mostly small enough that I can check them off and do them. For my life list, the things that I promise I'm going to do every day, I have 3 right now. And those 3 are hard for me to do every day. What about you? Your core things. Do you do them every day? And if you don't, what's holding you back? Mine is about mindset, I think, and creating discipline in areas where I don't have the discipline developed as much in other areas. So I haven't given up. I'm refreshing my commitment. And I want you to think about this for yourself because it makes a difference. It makes a difference when you are responsible to yourself, accountable to yourself. And then I want to add sometimes people appreciate having accountability buddies. So if it's hard for you to keep up whatever you promised yourself because you're only talking to yourself, you may want to reach out to someone and ask that person to hold you accountable for what you have promised yourself. And in the best of worlds, it would be good for you and that person to agree. Okay, they're agreeing to hold you accountable for X. And perhaps you are agreeing to hold them accountable for something else so that there's parity, so that you have both agreed to do something that will be beneficial to each other. And when you work together, it could simply be you check in each day or each week. How are you doing with that? You tell the truth. If you have not held yourself accountable well, you've not done a good job of being accountable, then you refresh your commitment. You evaluate, is there something that to change, to be tweaked on the list? These things work, folks. They really work. Never giving up has a lot to do with setting yourself up for success. So if if it's true that our greatest weakness is giving up, then we know it's common, right? Thomas Edison said it's our greatest weakness to give up. If you give up on things, don't beat yourself up because it means you are human. You're like other people. This incredible scientist said he thinks it's our weakest link towards success. Set yourself up to counterbalance that. Find an accountability partner. Write down what you've committed to. Check it off every day. Put it in red. Put it in another color. Put circles and hearts around it. Whatever you need to do to remind yourself. Put it on your, put a sticky on your bathroom window. But also, make sure the list is not too long. If you make your list so long that you get to the end of the day and there's just no way that you can complete this important thing that you put on the list, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's why you want to be conscious and intentional about how you plan every day. Yes, we have a lot of responsibilities. We have our life responsibilities, our work responsibilities, our family responsibilities, and the responsibilities to ourselves for making life worth living. Can that seem like a big list? Sure. But every day that we're alive, we have the blessing to work on it. So that whenever the day comes, when we leave this planet, we can know that we've done our best. We didn't give up. We did the best that we could for ourselves and lived a great life in so doing. I went to a funeral this weekend for a woman who was 85 years young, and her friends of 60 plus years talked about how beautiful and fun and engaging and just joyful her life was. She was an excellent professional, was lauded in that area, a wonderful mother, and her children and grandchild are sad but grateful for what a great life. Her friends talked about the many, many days they spent together. Beautiful. That's what we want for our lives, a life well lived. And how you get to the end with a life well lived is living it well every day, making choices that are in alignment with your beliefs and your commitments, never giving up on you, even when the times you're in are difficult, trusting in yourself, believing in yourself, aligning yourself with others when you need it. Don't feel like you have to be alone. If you need help, you need support, you need a shoulder to cry on, you need somebody to laugh with, go get what you need. And don't give up because you're worth it. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I hope you are inspired to go out there, live your commitments, and feel good every day that you're doing it. Don't give up. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.